There we go. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the July Book Club, Midnight Society Book Club discussion of horror movie by Tremblay. Let me get over here real quick. Okay. So we are gathered here today, ladies and gentlemen, to submit for the approval of the Midnight Society horror movie by Paul Tremblay. And just for anyone that maybe is not aware, I have a couple of new rules that I started in the last couple of months where we're going to see whether this is going to be inducted into the Midnight Society. This is just kind of for fun. It's like out of like the seance of it all, and not to be taken too seriously. But the rules are that if my co-host and myself, if the average rating is 3 stars or higher, then this will be inducted into the Midnight Society Book Club.
Fun.
Yeah, and so we'll see. And I want to also figure out a way to get everyone that's watching involved in that too. So if you are watching, let me know what you think is like the best way to do that. Because I was thinking either maybe beforehand we could do an Instagram poll and see what that y'all have to say, or maybe I could get like a moderator in the chat to add up all of everybody's ratings as we put them in the chat and then get the average from that. So if y'all have any ideas, let me know in the comments. I'm open to that. I want to have everyone else able to do that. So
you could do like a YouTube poll in the chat. Like YouTube lets you do it like while you're live. You can like post a poll, and you could just put like, should we like have this be a pick, or like should it be submitted for approval, and you could just have people vote yes or no like while we're live. You could do that.
Oh my gosh, could I do that right now, or do I have
you
to
can
prepare?
Yeah, it's like if you go to like our live page, like the actual YouTube page where we're live, not on StreamYard, there will be a little like thing in the comments. Like when you go to comment, there will be a little button that looks like a like a poll or a question mark. I can't remember what it looks like. But it should let you do a poll, so that's an option.
Okay, you know what? I'm not going to do it this time, but I'm going to practice it for next time. I don't want to mess that up right now. Hello, everybody. Hello. Okay, so I am joined today by my lovely co-host, 2 of my favorite booktubers. We have Gabby from Gabby Reads, and we also have Ashley from Ashley's Little Library. I'm so excited to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining me and for reading the book and everything that you do. Hello, everyone. So, yeah, let's see here. Hello, welcome. So let's have, Gabby, will you tell anyone who doesn't know, first of all, y'all, we're going to have a non-spoiler section first. So I will let you know when we get into spoilers. If you haven't read the book, don't worry about it yet. And we'll get into spoilers at some point. What else? If you read this book, while my co-hosts are going to introduce themselves, why don't you let us know in the comments. If you read it, give us a VHS tape emoji. And if you have not, give us a heart. And then I'll kind of get an idea of who's read it, who's not. What else? Is that it? Yeah, let's go ahead and introductions. Gabby, if you want to start us out, just let us know a little bit about yourself. Who am I kidding? Everyone that's watching this knows who you are.
Oh, no.
Everyone that watches my channel 100% watches both of y'all's channel. But just a quick synopsis maybe, and then tell us what your last 5-star read was, and then kind of your experience with Paul Tremblay.
Yeah, so my name is Gabby. My channel is Gabby Reads. I read primarily a lot of like horror, thriller, and romance are like my big 3. My most recent 5-star was actually during Summerween. It was The Har by David Sodergren. And it was my first experience with this author, and I'm like obsessed with this. Like it's become my whole new personality, and like it's in my top 10 of the year. I can't remember. Have you guys read this one?
No, but now I'm immediately sold. You have, Ashley?
I've read that one.
And
what did you like it as well?
You liked it?
I think I give it a 4.
Yeah, I just it's really, really gory. Like it's intense on the gore, like heavy gore, but there was something about the writing of this, like it was just so beautifully written, and I loved it. And I've been on a kick now with this author, like trying to read his whole backlist. So that's really exciting. And I think my history with Paul Tremblay, I just checked on Goodreads, and it looks like I've read 5 from him now, including this one. And I guess my history with him is very hit or miss. It looks like, because I've actually had like 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 star, and 1 star. So like it's all across the board.
Wow.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
like very
Okay, what
like
was
how
the
weird is
5
that?
star though? Was it Cabin?
Yeah, the 5 stars Cabin at the End of the World. That's like by
Okay.
far my favorite. Like I'm such a stan for that book. I've reread it twice. Like I love that one. That one's definitely my favorite. And then after that is A Head Full of Ghosts. So yeah,
Mhm.
but I feel like he's a very hit or miss author for me, but I always am really intrigued by checking out his newer stuff because, you know.
I think mine's the opposite. Mine's Head Full of Ghosts #1 and Cabin #2.
Oh, nice.
But I've only read 4. This is my 4th book I've just discovered of his. So I haven't read that many.
Nice.
But I do enjoy him.
Mhm.
Ashley, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Ashley. My channel is Ashley's Little Library, and I mostly read mystery, thriller, horror, and this year some more romance than I usually read. So that's been a fun little journey. History with Paul Tremblay. I think I've also read 4 novels of his, and I've given them all 4 or 5 stars
Oh, wow.
before this book. I'll withhold my rating until we get to what we're talking about this one. But yeah, I really like his stuff. I think he is a risk taker. His stuff isn't always as conventional. I think he has a very particular flavor of writing, and it can be a little pretentious at times, but I like it. So my favorites are also Cabin and A Head Full of Ghosts. And then the other ones I've read is Disappearance at Devil's Rock and The Pallbearers Club. And those were 4 stars.
Nice.
So I read, like I said, Head Full of Ghosts, Cabin, and Pallbearers Club, and now this one. And the 3 others were all 4 stars for me. And totally agree about the kind of, there's a pretentiousness. I feel like you can't talk about a Paul Tremblay book without using the word pretentious. But I mean that like the best way possible, because I feel like I relate to him in a certain way. Like it comes out in his writing, and especially in this one, because our main character is like openly pretentious. But even aside from that, like there is always a little bit of that comes through. But it's this like, okay, I admit I'm pretentious, but I'm also embarrassed about that. And so it's like this, like, I don't know, it's so relatable to me, because that's how I feel too. It's like I love pretentious stuff sometimes, like a certain flavor. But I'm also like, oh, why am I like this? You know? Okay, so Gabby, if you don't mind, can you give us just a brief description of the book? If you just want to read the thing, that's fine too.
Yeah. So synopsis for this one, hopefully I don't butcher anything, but so basically this is about a horror movie that was filmed in the 90s in 1993, and we follow like a bunch of the young filmmakers who were involved. Our protagonist is this character called the Thin Man in the movie, but he's never actually named. So we just know him as the Thin Man from the movie, or the thin kid. Oh, it's the Thin Kid. Sorry, apologies. The Thin Kid.
Doing that too.
Yeah, the Thin Kid. And then we follow their story as like, you know, this horror movie was like a really big deal. It went very viral because of some very graphic things, but the whole movie was never actually seen. So it just kind of went viral for these like 3 specific scenes that like got out to the public, and the public became obsessed over those scenes. And now the story is taking place years and years later, when our main protagonist dude, he's like the only living cast member from the movie, and they're going to try to like recreate the movie and like refilm and like redo the whole thing. So it's taking place years later. We do get some like, you know, screenplay moments in between the chapters. So we do get like flashbacks, we get the screenplay, and then we get present day and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what it's about. I don't know if I missed anything.
Great. Wow, that was really good. It looks like most of the people in the chat read this already, and I get it, because it was kind of like one of those summer releases. And I had originally approached you, Gabby, months and months ago, and I saw that this one had come out in the same month as the Craig DeLilly one that was kind of the same, like, same kind of theme. And I originally was thinking about reading both of those and doing like a battle, but then it just got a little complicated, because then I was like, okay, I don't want to ask everybody to read 2 books, and like there's just a lot. And I now still have not read the Craig DeLilly one. Have either of you read that one?
I haven't either, no.
Yeah.
No.
This was the one I really wanted to read of the 2. So I may still read that one. We'll see.
I know it looks like the other one. I've just been hearing really bad reviews for it. Like it seems like
Oh, really?
everybody's rating it so low. So I'm like, damn.
I have I read a Craig DeLuey? I think I have, and I think I didn't connect with it like I wanted to.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know. Maybe that's not an author for me, but I'm still open to trying it. Okay, so should we say what we are rating it?
If you want to.
Okay, y'all, go ahead in the comments below. If you're watching, let us know what you rated this. I think I have a banner for it. Yeah, what did you give it out of 5 stars? And I want to preface this by saying that I am saving my final rating until after I've talked to y'all about this because
you're on the fence.
I'm on the fence. I have a target rating, but I could be swayed like 0.5 in either direction.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's still up for grabs.
I
So,
see.
Ashley, do you want to start? You want to tell us what you rated this? I'm so afraid.
I know, I'm scared. I'm scared to know what you thought.
I am rating this, drumroll please, a 4.
Oh, what? Holy shit. I was scared. You're going to be like, 1 star.
1 star.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, awesome. What about
I
you,
totally
Gabby?
get the ability to sway. I was feeling kind of that too. And I think my history with Paul Tremblay made me like it a little bit more than I would if maybe this was my first thing from him.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that for sure. Because you kind of know what to expect, I think, going into a Paul Tremblay book after you've read a couple of them.
Yeah.
But even that said, all of his books have like such different premises. And they are very different, but you know what you're going to get. That's what I kind of have a little crush on Paul Tremblay. I'm not going to lie. Like not in real life, but like
a literary crush.
Author crush.
Yeah. It's so funny.
Yeah. All right, Gabby, what's it going to be?
Well, so for like the majority of this book, I was like either wanting to DNF it or give it like 2 stars, but then the ending really saved it for me, so I think I'm giving it around 3 stars. It's like not my favorite from him, but it's not my least favorite from him, but I do feel like this book is the most similar to the Paul Bearers Club out of all of his books, and that one was a 1 star for me. Like I hated the Paul Bearers Club, like I hated it. So yeah, so I'm kind of like mixed feelings on this one, but I actually thought the second half of this book was a lot more interesting than the first half. Like the first half for me was kind of a snooze fest, but yeah, 3 stars.
I get that. I think the like there wasn't a lot of action until like the very end. It all started. It's like, excuse me, the way it was set up was like to keep you for basically the first half of the book feeling like, what is going on? What is going on? And then once you finally get to like maybe that like 60% mark, they start throwing you little life preservers, being like, oh, but here, this connects here. And then, oh, but this connects here. And then, so it starts to kind of come together. But at the end, we're still left with a lot of questions, which is not a surprise from a Paul Tremblay book. Okay, so I like that. All right, so I'm rating this one right now 3.5, right in the middle.
Wow, look at that.
Now it is going to be the battle. Who's going to convince me to
right?
It?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see what we have in the comments. I have my library of number 2. Okay, 2.5 to 3. Haven't quite decided. 3.5. Generous 2. 3 star, 4 star, 2. Okay, so we have a lot of variability in the ratings. I wonder, what is the Goodreads rating for it right now? Let me see.
It's not super high. I think it's like 3.3-ish, maybe a little higher.
Oh, it looks like it's at 3.52.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's on the lower side.
You know what? That feels about right, considering this array. Now we got a bunch of 4 stars. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but the Paul Bearers Club is averaging a 3.1 right now. So, I mean, in comparison, this one's doing a little bit better.
Which one is that?
The Paul Bear's Club is a 3.1 on Goodreads right now, average.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so this one's doing a little bit better for more mainstream audiences, it sounds like.
Huh. Cabin feels like it was written by someone else. Like it didn't
Mhm.
have that pretentious vibe.
I can see that.
My opinion of
I
that
mean,
one changed a little bit over
it
time
kind
too.
of
'Cause I
does.
originally
Mhm.
I read it in like 2020 for the first time, and then I reread it last year, and I was remembering it feeling more mainstream. And then when I reread it now, having read more Paul Tremblay, I'm like, oh yeah, it's a Paul Tremblay book.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually read Paul Tremblay because of you, Ashley. I think I was doing a video where I read books that you recommended. And I read Cabin at the End of the World. I read, what was it? That one like high concept mystery, not Evelyn Hardcastle, but it was, I'll think of it later. But yeah, that was my first Paul Tremblay. Yeah.
Damn. The
Funny how
influencer.
we all influence each other though too.
Yeah. Influencing you to read Paul Tremblay.
It's
Amazing.
what's the influencing inception.
Mm-hmm.
First half was boring. 2.5. Paul Tremblay, and I just click. Yeah. I think you either click with his writing or you don't. I think that's kind of, and that's pretty fair to say. Okay, so the way this story was formatted, so we had first the parts of the story that were told from the thin kid, who, like you said, Gabby, we never learned his name. I loved that we never learned his name. I mean, I hated it as I was reading it because I was like, wait, what's his name? Did I miss it? What's his name? What's his name? And then I was like, oh, I never got it. So he's telling us almost like he's like after the fact, telling us the story of like how all of this went down. And then we have also interspersed chapters where it's the original, I think the original screenplay. They do say that there were like a bunch of different versions that floated out, but the original screenplay. And that's being read by a different narrator. I guess I should mention that I listened to the audio as I read this. And I think a lot of the reasons why I was so back and forth about this was from the choices that they made from the audiobook. Now, I know that it's not up to the author who the choices that whoever makes the audiobook makes. So basically how it works is like it gets optioned out like a movie, and then whoever bought the option to make the audiobook then makes it, and they're in control over that. So like it's like a movie where like the author doesn't have control over really how the audiobook comes out. And so I'm thinking, oh my gosh, did Paul Tremblay get like massively screwed over on this audiobook? Because those, just specifically the sections that are narrated for the screenplay that are narrated by a woman, they felt so weird for me. And I couldn't tell if it was on purpose or not. And it was driving me crazy. It's meant to feel unedited, but I think it's not unedited. So what are y'all thoughts? Ashley, I know you did both too. You did audio and physical. Gabby, how did you read this?
I did both too. Yeah.
Okay. What did y'all think about that?
I actually thought the audiobook was so cool. Like it really like enhanced the reading experience for me because I felt like it felt like kind of like being in a room with like a live table reading or something, because I thought it was so cool how like literally at the bottom of a page where the page would turn, they actually included like the page flipping sounds and stuff, and like it was almost like you could hear like, I don't know, like people being like like clearing their voice, being like, sorry, let me start over. And like, you know, it felt like being in a real room with like actors like reading the scenes. I don't know, it was kind of cool. Like, and I liked how it included like some spooky music and like some of the creepier scenes from the actual movie. And like, I don't know, I really liked all the choices with the audiobook, but I could see how it would kind of be like weird, or like how it would come across like this doesn't sound like how they maybe intended it to sound. But I feel like for me, the audiobook actually elevated the book a lot. Like I think if the audiobook wasn't the way that it was, I would not have enjoyed this as much as I did. But
okay. Interesting, because I feel kind of like the opposite. Like I kind of feel like I wish I had read it physically, even though I probably just wouldn't have read it if I would have come down to that.
Yeah.
But I was just like, it threw me off so much. For some reason, I could not pay attention during the screenplay scenes.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out if it had to do with the audio or if it was that that it was written like a screenplay.
Right.
And as you're listening to that, like just your ears, and you're not seeing like how it's formatted, like the screenplay, and it's like mixed media and all of this, it just kind of feels like bad writing,
Yeah.
like
No,
very straightforward writing, I guess.
Yeah. I think it would be very confusing if I didn't have the physical book, because that's the only thing is like I can't imagine reading this book like only via audio. I feel like that would make it very confusing for me.
Yeah.
But I kind of loved the experience of reading it alongside this, but I can't imagine only trying to listen to audio. I feel like that would have definitely affected how I felt about the book too.
What did you think, Ashley?
I'm in between on it. I like the concept of listening to this on audio because done well, I think it can bring the story to life well. Because, so for context for everyone else, before I ever started reading this, Elizabeth sent a message and was like, I think there's mistakes in the audiobook. What's going on? Someone else tell me what's going on. So when I was reading, I was like diligently looking at the page and listening. And there are dozens of mistakes in the audio, like so much to the point where like, is this ridiculously intentional and just strange, or is it a mistake? And it's only in a particular portion, like an only particular narrator voice that's doing the screenplay reading, and then it has this weird like staticky echoey sound to it, and they'll just like reread lines over and over, and there's sniffles and there's coughing, and it's like it feels like it has to not like it feels like an unedited audio book. And then there's portions where it gets a higher quality in the exact same section of the script. So that's why I was like, this feels like why would you do that? Why would you switch it in the middle of the script to then start making mistakes and do the different lower quality audio? So I don't know what was going on there. I listened from Everand, if that has any effect, like if audio is potentially different anywhere else, but that was a distraction for me.
Interesting. Yeah, I listened from Everand as well. What did you listen from, Gabby?
It was through Libby, through my library.
Oh, okay. I wonder if they're different based on where you get it
and
from.
Everand's been broken before. Like Scribd has a history of messing up their audiobooks. So
I mean, I definitely did. I did notice though, like there were definitely some of the errors that you were talking about with like either like parts being missed or like skipped or something, or like it didn't follow exactly what was in the book. Like I did notice a few things with that with the audiobook experience as well, but I guess it just didn't bother me as much as I thought it would. Like I don't know.
Yeah. And then sometimes it's just that like changes have been made to the physical book after, the original got sent out. Sometimes it's that too. So that's why like I was so confused, because it was so intentional that, like you said, Ashley, the white noise, the sniffling. And for me personally, like I do that a lot. And so when I'm editing, that's the first thing that goes.
It's almost like overproduced or something to make it sound unedited, but they like overproduce it to make it sound that way.
That could have been what happened, because it definitely felt like they put a lot of effort into the audiobook. Like they really wanted to make a statement and make a point with the audiobook and put the extra time in with the effects and stuff like that. And so that's why it's just like it feels so like opposing, because it felt so like almost just unprofessional. But I guess that like if that's intentional, and that's why I like led myself into this, Princess Bride situation where I was like, but if you do this, then this, but if I do this, then this, and then I was like, I can't anymore. So I had to like set that aside. I had to set that aside for sure. Let's see here. Anything else? Formatting. So like there's certain things that like you're deciphering as you read it. I am like, what was the intention of whoever directed the audiobook, and then what was the intention of the author. And so I think those things were just like opposing in my head the whole time. It made me feel a little bit insane. But again, I think a lot of the themes of this story are like how far we will go. There's something that I noticed was like how our characters are pushing each other, and then there's this like curse factor, right? So the whole time we're wondering what is actually happening. Is this cursed, or is this trying to say something about Hollywood and how they put pressure on people, or how they what's the word, like manipulate things for the sake of a dime, a dollar, whatever, or for the sake of art, if that's what it is. So there's a lot of that back and forth throughout this that I really liked. What do y'all, okay. Should we get into spoilers? Yeah, I think it's about time to get into spoilers. Are y'all cool with that?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, y'all. So anyone who's watching, if you have not read this, it looked like most of y'all did anyway. So let's just go ahead. We'll get into spoilers. Where to start? Where to start? So the weird thing is that it's not like the description says this is a play on the cursed film genre. And I think the play on the cursed film genre I'm confused about, because is it a cursed film or is it a cursed mask? We have the thin kid, right? And he's wearing this mask. And then throughout the story, he's constantly pushing himself past the point that it's safe in order to do what's best for this role. And you get the sense that he's like doing, like becoming like method, or he's using method acting and like trying to get into his character, but that also that character is more maybe taking over him as opposed to him getting into the character. And where was I going with this?
That's how I feel reading the book.
Yeah.
Like, where is this going?
Yeah. Like, more like, is the mask that's cursed, or is it the film itself, or like the concept that's cursed?
It started with the mask, though. Like, and one thing I think we need to talk about is that the characters in the book are also the same names as the characters in the screenplay.
Yeah, I hated that.
Yeah, I hated that too.
It was throwing me off so bad because I was so confused. Like, I was reading them, like, I was reading this book when I was on reading sprints with my Patreon, and I was like, can somebody clarify for me like what the fuck is happening in this? Because like I was like, are these the characters, or are they the real people? And everybody's like, no, it's just the names. Like, they use their real names. And I was like, why would they do that?
Well, I think it's intentional.
Mind that
also plays in to blend.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I don't
Ashley.
like when it's like, if it were a lot of different names the whole time, I feel like I'd be losing my mind trying to remember who was who. I'd be like,
That's
okay, is
true.
Valentina Clementine, or is she, you know? So
Yeah.
I like the simplicity of that a little bit. And I think it leads into some of the themes he's going into of like getting really absorbed in the art, and Cleo's writing, reflecting her own personal horrors, and like going off of her own past and siphoning off the things that she knows and her reality too. But I can see how it can also get like confusing when you're getting into the book and you're like, wait, is this the real Valentina and Cleo? And then where's Carson? Because you don't see Carson outside of the script, but then he's in the script. Yeah.
It's very confusing. So there are basically, the main group is Carson, Cleo, Valentina, and then the thin kid. And so in 1993, they filmed this. We know it went terribly wrong. What actually happened is that the thin kid murdered Cleo, and they filmed it. And then that scene, along with a couple of the other scenes, were released in 2008 by Valentina. Valentina was the director. Cleo wrote the script. And the thin kid was just a friend of Valentina's from college. Valentina and Cleo also had a connection. They were friends already. And then apparently Carson was real, but we just don't see him. And so, yeah, there is a lot of overlap. And I get what you're saying, Ashley. Like, I feel both ways too. Because I sometimes, if there's too many character names, I'm like, I wonder if he had like made the similar name, but slightly different. Like maybe names that started with the same letter so that we knew they go together. Like that might have been a little bit easier. But yeah, we find out as we're going on that Valentina got sick. She had cancer, which she blames on the film because she watched it again and she was like, maybe that's why I have cancer now. Because there was a string of bad luck that is happening to like people that were involved in this originally. And she says to the thin kid, I need you to like carry this forth and have it finished and like do something because I'm dying and I need you to do this. And then they have their whole weird thing where like he's under the bed and he can't fit, and like and it starts to parallel the screenplay a little bit, and we see that. What did y'all think was like the weirdest part of this? That you were like, what? What's happening right now?
Gosh, I mean, all the things with like the pinky scenes were like the most
Okay.
like bizarre thing to me, and that was like one of the parts that was like a little bit harder to understand for me, like what exactly was happening, because it's like the whole pinky thing was the fact that like they made it seem right like it actually had happened during the filming of the movie, but then it didn't, right? From what I understand, it's like no, later on she like went and she actually did like chop off his pinky or something, but it happened like off camera. But like it's like they were playing into this bit so much that they wanted it to like appear true, right? Like, or like they wanted people to be scared that it was real. So that was the most like weird thing about this book for me, or like the part that I was like, what?
Yeah, there was the
I
pinky.
think
There was some other thing that happened on set too, right? What else happened on set?
the cigarette burns.
Yeah, the cigarette burns on him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he actually like volunteered because he felt like that. See, did y'all think that Valentina was pushing him into those things, or did you feel like he was doing it on his own volition? Like the cigarette burn, the jumping over the shrubbery, the like all of those things that he like went too far.
There was a moment, I don't remember which one it was, but the way the scene plays out, you can tell that Valentina and Cleo kind of manipulated him in the conversations they were having off to the side before it happened. I don't remember which incident it was because there was so many that kind of kept repeating themselves. But I think that was definitely supposed to be hinted at, is how they were gently pushing him that way without saying so.
Because they were really in control of like the whole situation at all times, right? Like I do think like they were the ones pushing him to do these things.
And they only gave him his sides like the night before, so he would experience it as if the character were experiencing it, or as the character is experiencing it. That was interesting. Like I don't.
Yeah, but isn't the scene or maybe I need clarity on this, but the scene when Cleo like gets murdered or dies, wasn't it like she was trying to do it intentionally and like she wanted him to like kill her, so like it was kind of like an accident in a way, or was that not an accident? Like was that because like he didn't intend to kill her in that scene, right? But she wanted to die, so she like made the decision to like sit up, is what I thought happened.
Yeah, so I love that whole concept of what was done with Cleo, and this is like part of Paul's pretentiousness coming out, I think, as Cleo as a character and everything that's done with her. But you know, you start with this little moment of reading in the script that her character in the script walks up the stairs with her hands in her pockets because she's like, you know, if I fall, then I'm not preventing my death, but I'm not like actively trying to die. And then you get to the chainsaw scene where she's like, well, maybe we should actually put the, you know, thing back on the chainsaw. Let's make it real. And then she sits up and pulls him in and puts her other hand in her pocket. And I'm like, the hands in the pocket.
Yeah.
Like, so much.
Well, I think I thought they had mentioned that she had taken some kind of safety piece off of the chainsaw and put it in her pocket. Is that what y'all remember as well?
I think they had taken the, what do you call it that's on the chainsaw? Like the actual things that do the cutting. They had taken that off to film it so that it wouldn't hurt her. But before they do the final scene, she's like, we should put the chain actually back on the saw so it's realistic. And then that was what it is. And she put her hand in her pocket as in like a passive way to accept the death.
Huh. Okay. I must have read that wrong because I thought there was, I mean, I did know that they had taken the chain off, then put the chain back on, but I thought there was also like another piece that was covering the chain or something that she had put in her pocket. And when he saw her put that in her pocket, in my mind, that was when he knew that she was going to use him to take her own life. And he kind of complied. Like he knew it was happening before she leaned into it. I thought he knew that she was going to do that, or at least he suspected.
Well, but the thing with him too is he's so unreliable. Like his perspective, he tells lies. He originally tells the scene about the finger cutting and says his finger does get cut off. Then you learn later it doesn't actually happen until 2008. But it's like you were telling us, the reader, so you're okay lying to the reader. So we can't trust anything he says.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
At a certain point, he fully committed. Well, then also the thing with the scales, because apparently like in the screenplay, the thin kid, the story within the story is that these kids all went to this school and they ganged up on the thin kid. They burned him with cigarettes. They really like tortured him. And then he came back and was like turned into this like powerful creature and like started on a mission to take them out. Is that the impression y'all got too?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. But then also like he literally had like magical powers once he transformed, and he was supposed to have had scales and like all of like what I don't know what else, but like it seems like he was like becoming this monster. And especially with the mask like turning into it. But then he just like in real life we see that the thin man, I'm gonna say the thin kid for the screenplay and the thin man for the main character.
Mhm.
The thin man has scales too, and they're like, oh, when he gets on set, because they're remaking it. We didn't even get into that, I guess. But like they're remaking it. There's a new director. They're gonna make it based on the original screenplay, and it's gonna be like finishing it for the first time. And so they see that he has scales, and he's like, oh yeah, I got him done by this artist or whatever. And he's like, he tells us, the reader, that he lied. He made up some name. And so you're like, wait, so where did those come from then? If they're not, or did you just not want to share that? But then when they go to take the mold of his face, I think, for the mask or something like that, they're like, oh no, it's like indented into the mold. Like, how you must have had a really good tattoo artist, or like maybe they were scarring or whatever. And I think that's meant for us to think, okay, no, these are real. He is actually turning into this thing in real life. So it's definitely like mimicking what's going on in the screenplay. He is cursed.
Yeah.
I would say this is a cursed mask, not a cursed film. What do y'all think?
No, I don't know. I could honestly see it either way, because like either whether it's the mask or the film, like I don't know. I feel like it could be either one.
I haven't read a ton of cursed film stuff or watched a ton. I read Burn the Negative as one that I liked, that I think of a lot. And he actually mentions Josh Winning, the author, in the author's note at the end.
Yeah, I noticed that.
That had inspired him at some point. But I think like certain attributes in terms of like the film that never got made, that gives kind of a cursed film vibe. Everyone who worked on the film died in mysterious ways afterwards. That kind of gives cursed film vibes. And then how the film is kind of overtaking him and his characters overtaking him through the iconography of the mask, I guess, being the thing we're seeing to carry it forward. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect all the time with a cursed film story. I'm still trying to figure that out, but yeah, I can see both.
I haven't read that one either. In fact, I don't know that I've read any other cursed film stories. It's not my typical like go-to. I don't normally go for the whole cursed thing, but I don't mind it. Maybe I'll read some more. I don't know. Agree that it seems the mask was the cursed part. Always came back to that, and he couldn't part with it. Yeah, it was very much like my precious with the mask. Like he was like, no, we're not using another mask. It's only this one. And then when like Valentina was like, do you still have it? And he was like, yeah. And he was like, I like basically tells us that like he couldn't part with it, and he doesn't really know why, but he was not about to do that. Yeah, that was interesting. Let's see. What
How
else?
did you feel about like the very, very end? Like the because I just wrote down the last line of this book was, I haven't decided on the new ending yet. I guess you'll have to watch the movie to find out.
Oh.
How did you feel about that line?
That kind of bothered me in a way, because I'm like, I guess I'm trying to figure out like the point of view, the world, and the setting throughout the whole thing. So I'm like, he's talking to us. So he's telling the story, talking to us, the reader. And then they are rebooting the same screenplay. So I think that's another thing. Sorry to like keep dragging this up, but like I think that's what confused me about the screenplay thing, because they were doing the screenplay in the present reboot and in the past. We don't know, as we're reading it, who is supposed to be doing that. Even if it's like a table read, like, but who? Is it present or is it past? And if it's one or the other, I feel like it makes a difference. I guess it would have to be past, don't you think?
Yeah, I was picturing it as like the past when I was hearing those parts.
I was picturing it as the past too, but there's also that weird moment where someone brings up, the new director is asking the Thin Man guy, is this actually the original script? Because there's a song reference that wasn't actually out at the time Cleo wrote the script. It came out years later. So then is it even the original script, or is like, did he manipulate with that too and like switch out certain parts? There's so much. All Paul Tremblay does is make you ask questions. He gives you answers.
That's true.
Also, like, have y'all read screenplays before?
I've read plays, but not like
kind of
screenplay.
Yeah, same. I've read quite a few plays, but I haven't read any screenplays. And so I think maybe what confused me too was that they were using we as the camera. So they're saying like, we enter the scene doing this and we follow them like that. And for most of it, I was like, who is we though? And then at some point they do explicitly say they're using we for the camera. That's kind of weird. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought it was just me that thought that was weird, but I guess that's supposed to be a Cleo quirk. Also with Cleo, I think when I first started to realize that these characters were kind of combined, was that scene with Cleo and the thin kid, where he's like, oh, I'm afraid to ask her, but maybe I should. And he's like, okay, like, I know your character, maybe suicidal. Is that something that you relate to as well? Like, how much of this character is you? And she's like, she said something like, it's all me and not me at all, or something like that. And that's when we start to like, the lines start to cross and you're like, oh, okay. So also throughout the whole thing, you don't know like what happened to Cleo until like the very end or close to it. And so when we find out that she essentially like uses him to take her life, it all kind of makes sense. Like it clicks together like, oh, so that was more, her character definitely was coming from a real place because she felt those feelings. She must have.
That was one of my favorite scenes in the book, particularly when they get to the end of the conversation. He's like, you're using all these real character names and this is a real mask you found and it's all in the story. And then he's like, so who am I in your story? Sometimes I'm afraid I'm a figment of your imagination and that I'm not even real. And I was like, is he not going to be real? Like,
I know.
Is he going to be dead? And this is like Cleo telling the story as a different like part of Cleo retelling it all. But then you find out she dies. So
that would have been really cool, to be honest. Like, I would have been into that.
I did not even think of that. But yeah, that's wild. Maybe it was the piece of wood. Trying to find
the chainsaw.
Also about throughout how like all lost things are cursed. So like anything that you find that has been lost in some way has been cursed, which is kind of an interesting concept to think about. I loved the so Tremblay coded.
Just that ambiguous, like, you're not gonna know, and you have to watch the movie that's not even real to find out.
That's true.
Like, okay.
it kind of makes me think too. I mean, I'm sure a lot of this book probably came off his experience with Cabin getting adapted and whatever influence he had in the Hollywood production of that, and observing things and then thinking about it and then putting it in the book. But that felt too kind of like a snarky response to his readers who are like, I hate how your endings are always ambiguous. And he's like, I'll give you 5 different options then, and you're just gonna have to wait to see which one we go with.
Yeah,
I know.
I did like the very end of this, even though it was like very pretentious, I think, to end the book that way. But I also like, I do appreciate a good, like, fun, ambiguous ending. So like, I didn't mind it, but I can see how somebody would read that ending and be like pissed. Like, I can totally see it.
It did feel like we were going to get more of the current day filming kind of information. And really that was just like the epilogue, like of like,
Yeah.
okay, now this has happened and then here's what happened on the newest version of this. You'll see when it comes out. I wanted more of that, I think. I wanted more of the like current day. But I guess he does kind of explain how does it work out with the thin kid? Did he kill the thin kid in real life?
I know. I think so, right? Because I don't want to get this ending mixed up with one of the other books I like just read that was similar to this.
He hid in the new guy who's playing the thin kid in the reboot. He hid in his trailer overnight, and then he basically like turns into the monster and does the big like alligator chomp on him that is replicated in the movie.
That's
and then he's like, I'm just gonna wear the mask the whole rest of the time, and I'm gonna be the thin kid, and maybe they'll notice, but they'll probably not even say anything because they just want to make the movie anyway.
That's right. So. I loved that about this ending. I loved that it like led to like a big action moment at the end, and then it left on that ambiguous note of like, is he actually the monster now, or like, is this all, you know? I don't know. I kind of liked it ending on that kind of weird eerie note. It really worked for me.
I like that. I like books that end like that too, which is probably another reason I, like Paul Tremblay. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Read this and watched Pearl, X, and Maxine all in like a 2-week period, and it had my brain really thinking about Hollywood fandoms. I have not. I think I've seen one of them. Whatever the first one is. Is the first one Pearl?
I think it's X.
First one's X. Okay, I've seen X then, but I need to watch all of this because I've heard such good things. Okay, so let's start to kind of wrap this up. I think we've gotten a lot. Is there anything else that y'all want to mention that we didn't touch on, or anything in the comments y'all want to talk about?
Well, just to compare, like I know Ashley just mentioned this book kind of reminded her of like Burn the Negative, which I actually read that one because of Ashley when I read it like a few years ago. And that one I actually liked like better than this one. And then also there's a book called Curse of the Reaper that I just read. That's also another kind of like remaking an old cursed film kind of thing. And I also liked that one better than this one too. I gave that one 4 stars. So like I've read a few, like I feel like I've read a few now like cursed kind of movie things, and this one's probably my least favorite of the ones that I've read so far. But I do think if you liked the vibe of this one, you could like Burn the Negative or Curse of the Reaper.
Okay. Burn the Negative. Curse of the Reaper is Stephen Graham Jones? No. Yeah.
No, it's shoot.
Brian? Is it a Brian? Craig? I don't know.
I know. Yeah, it's maybe Craig something.
It's like a yellow cover. It's like it's like a film reel. It's
a lesser known author. I don't think. Oh yeah, it's Brian Macaulay.
Oh, okay.
This is what the cover looks like. Curse of the Reaper. But I thought it was a good time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have seen that cover. Okay. And let's see. So anything else that y'all would compare this to, or you think that if somebody liked something else, they might like this, or if they like this, they might like something else?
I would say.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you haven't read from Paul Tremblay before and you read this and you like it, definitely read more from him, because I don't think this is his best. There's some really good stuff out there. It also made me think of Looking Glass Sound by Katrina Ward a lot while I was reading, and I love that one. I gave it a 5 star, but that's a very weird meta book within a book within a book, very confusing. You're not going to get it. You're going to have questions kind of story. So if you like kind of puzzle books that are pretentious and annoying and intellectual, then you might enjoy that too. And it also reminded me of the film I Saw the TV Glow, which I also liked that one. I gave that a 4 star.
I've never heard of that. I'll have to look that up. I Saw the TV Glow. I will say I DNF'd that Catriona Award. Shockingly, because I loved Needless Street so much. And it seems like it should be something that I loved, but for some reason I didn't connect to that one either. But I'm glad that you loved it. For some reason I can't help but connect Paul Tremblay and Ian Reid.
Oh yeah.
I feel like they have similar energy. Like Ian Reid is similarly pretentious, but also really likes to explore kind of abstract ideas and thoughts. And this one, We Spread in particular, the way I felt reading it, I think I felt similarly reading horror movie. Not that their plots have anything to do with each other, but just that like confusion, that open ending, that making you, you know, go through it in your mind and say like, oh, like not trusting your instinct and kind of making you feel like you might be a little loony.
Mhm.
So I get that from both of those for sure.
Mhm.
There is
Yeah, that's a good
one thing
comparison.
that I was curious to ask you too, because I know that I have this weird thing and I want to know if it's just me or if this is like something that y'all do too. But when I'm reading a book and there are certain specific words used, sometimes like there are specific words that I love hearing. If like an author uses this word, I am like on board. I have good vibes from them moving forward. And then there are other words where like an author uses this and I'm like, eek, like cringe. I hate this word. Like, don't say this word. And I won't necessarily like not read a book because they used a certain word or something, but I'm like, oh man, I hate that word. And for me, words that I really love, maw, if an author uses maw, like a gaping maw, for some reason, like that's a good sign for me. Like I'm gonna like the book. If an author, oh no, I always forget this word. It starts with a D and it means like garbage. What is that? I can't
A
think of it.
D?
Yeah, it starts with a D and it means garbage. But it's, oh shoot, I should have written these down first. If anyone in the comments can think of what that is, let me know. But it's another one that I'm like, yes, I really like. And then one that I don't like to hear is clamber, because for some reason I associate it with timbre. And I feel like it shouldn't have a B in it. I feel like it's supposed to be clamor and that we're just adding a B. And detritus. That's it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's detritus. I love detritus. Yes. A lot of y'all got that. Thank you. Yeah, and clamber, I just hate that word. I hate hearing it. It makes me cringe. So I'm sure there are other ones that I don't like hearing too, but those are the main ones. And so do y'all have that experience or is it just me?
I don't think about it in like thriller, horror, mystery as much. I feel like there's certain words in romance or fantasy books that
I
I
was literally just
notice
gonna say that.
more.
Yeah, because I'm like,
But
I like
I
certain like during sex scenes, if there's certain words used, I'm like,
yeah, same. Yeah.
So
Or
that's
like
the
in
only
fantasy books,
yeah.
they growl a lot in fantasy books. And I'm like, do we always have to be growling? I don't know. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say, I know you're going through Akatar right now, right? Or no, your game or
Throne of Glass.
Throne of Glass.
Throne of Glass, yeah.
One thing about those books that did bother me was when Sarah J. Maas calls their parts their sex. I hate it. I hate it.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
I also hate like watery bowels, or I hate just in general the writing trope of someone seeing something that makes them nauseous and they're like talking about tasting bile in their mouth. Authors love to use that. And I don't like that.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the age old, I released the breath I didn't know I was holding.
Yes.
Like,
Classic.
It's everywhere. It's all the time, I feel like. Yeah, that one I don't like. SJM says vulgar gesture.
Exactly. She always calls it his goddamn, and it's so annoying. Like, why? Why?
Yeah. Interesting. So maybe I am a little bit more averse to certain things.
You're just a language fan. You like certain vocabulary and you don't like others. That's cool.
You know what? You hit the nail on the head. That's it. That's what it is. Yeah. What are you guys reading right now? Are you in the middle of anything right now?
I just finished reading the new Rainbow Rowell this morning. So I'm not currently reading anything right now.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm in the middle of the third Thursday Murder Club book on audio, and then in the middle of Queen of Shadows, I think, is the one that I'm on, and the Throne of Glass. I don't know. All the names blend together for me, but I think that's the one I'm on.
Yeah. I just started today. I started We Used to Live Here.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
Who wrote it? It's on Everand.
how is
Um,
it?
I don't know. Somebody recommended it to me. Did you recommend that to me, Ashley?
No.
Or you've not read that one yet? Let me see who the author is. Marcus Kluwer. We Used to Live Here.
Yeah, I have it as a book troop pick coming up, and Ashley's gonna co-host with me in September. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
And I'm so
I
excited.
don't know if you've announced that or not.
I know.
That's so
excited.
funny. Somebody recommended it to me, and I found it on Everand, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start it. So far, I'm not very far into it, maybe 15-20%, but I am liking it. So
Oh, I'm so excited.
yeah, I like the point of view, and it's like doing kind of similar things where it's like, is it culty? Is it like
Mhm.
religious-y? Is it ghosty? I
Mhm.
don't know.
Yeah.
But there's something going on. So it's interesting. We'll see. That's gonna be my first August read.
Nice.
So y'all, what's coming up for y'all? Let us know. Where can anyone find you if for some reason they don't know who you are while they're watching this? And what do you have coming up that you're working on that we should go check out? Ashley, you want to start?
Sure. I'm just living right now. I don't have a ton going on, but my next round of the 24-hour horror-a-thon will be in August, so this month. I have not announced the date yet, but it's usually the last Friday of the month, and I do it every other month, and we read and watch horror together for 24 hours. So if you are interested, it's in the description of like all my videos, a Discord link to get updates about it, and there's an Instagram page, and it's really fun. So that is coming soon.
Sweet.
Nice. Gabby, what do you have coming up? I know you're planning like a trip right now, aren't you, Gabby?
Oh,
Where are you going?
Italy.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so exciting.
Yeah. What do I have coming up? I don't know. I grabbed these because my next book club pick, I have a book club called the Book Troop that's kind of similar where we read like thriller horror stuff. But I'm gonna be reading I Was a Teenage Slasher for August. So I'm really excited to check this one out. And then like we just said, this one is gonna be in September with Ashley as one of the co-hosts. So can't wait to read these ones.
Awesome. I will definitely be there watching that live show. And interested to hear how y'all enjoy that after I finish it. Okay, so yes, it's time to decide whether or not this book has been inducted. And I will say, I think I'm going to stick with my 3.5, even though it kind of hurts my heart a little bit because every other book I've read by Paul Tremblay has been a 4-star. I think if I'm being honest with myself, 3.5 stars is where it's going to land. So 3.5 for me. I mean, I know where this is going, but let's just put it in a calculator anyway, because I'm not a math person. 3.5 plus 3 plus 4 divided by 3 is 3.5.
Wow.
Yes.
Good. Okay. I was like, what's the radar?
Inducted into the Midnight Society Book Club. Whew, I would honestly be kind of upset if it didn't because I feel bad. So I'm glad to say that we can do that. What else? Next month we are in August. So this month we are reading The Stepford Wives by Ira Levin. I have never read this. It is a classic, and I love books that are inspired by this. And I got this on Pango. It's the I think it's like a Barnes and Noble book club edition or something, but this is like old. This was printed in like the 70s, and I love it so much. And I'm going to be joined by Deja from Deja's Book World, as well as Megan from Reading with Meg. And I'll let y'all know as soon as I can about the date. That should be up soon. Look on my Instagram, the Midnight Society Book Club. And I'll let you know the date there. But this one also, they just came out with the first ever audiobook in May, I think. Or yes, very not so long ago. And so I think that's part of the reason I haven't read it, because it didn't have an audio. But at the same time, it's so short. This book is like 177 pages, I think it said.
Wow.
Oh, less than that, 145. So super short. Anyone who's interested, you know, this should be hopefully available at your library or something, since it's not like a brand new release or something like that. So check that out. And let's see, I think that about sums it up for today. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you so much. This was a dream team. And this is, I think, Ashley, you have set the record now for the most appearances on the Banana Society Book Club.
Ooh, flex.
Gabby, this is your second. So you're right there close.
Making my way.
So y'all, again, thank you so much. All of their links are in the description down below. Go check them out if you, for some reason, don't know who these wonderful women are. And yeah, let's call it a night. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Have a great weekend. And don't forget that life is short. Go read, Riley. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, y'all.